tall arched windows, weather-worn brick, and a black iron fence that creaked in the wind. The real estate agent called it a hidden gem and offered it at a price so low, I'd have been a fool to say no. I wasn't scared. Not then. I didn't believe in ghosts or curses or anything you'd find scribbled in a horror novel. All I needed was a quiet place to start over after the divorce. Some solitude, some peace. But peace is the one thing this house has never known. It started with the floorboards. Every night after 2 a.m., I'd hear them creak, not like old wood settling, but like someone walking barefoot in slow, deliberate steps. Always the same path, from the front hallway, across the living room, then up the stairs, to the room at the end of the hall. A room I never opened. That door didn't come with a key. In fact, it didn't even have a doorknob, just a smooth surface with deep scratches near the frame, like someone or something had tried to claw its way out. I didn't touch it. I told myself I'd get a locksmith eventually. But nights passed, and the footsteps grew bolder. Louder. Closer. They stopped just outside my bedroom door, where I'd lie frozen, staring at the faint shadow beneath it. Always just a shadow, never a figure. Until the third week. That night, the footsteps didn't stop at my door. They came inside. I didn't hear the door open. I didn't feel a breeze or see the knob turn. But I swear to you, I heard breathing, slow, raspy, wet breathing, just inches from my ear. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. My body felt like it had been chained to the bed. And then, whispering. A voice so soft, so broken, I could barely make out the words. But it kept repeating the same phrase. He sleeps in the floor now. He sleeps in the floor now. When I finally managed to move, the room was empty. Nothing was there. But the floor beneath my bed was wet. Soaked through. I ripped up the carpet and found warped, rotting wood beneath it. When I pried open a loose plank, I found teeth. Not bones. Not hair. Teeth. Human. Dozens of them. Some yellowed with age. Some still red at the root. I ran. I booked a hotel that night, told myself I'd call the authorities in the morning. But before I left, I made the mistake of checking the attic for the first time. The air up there was so cold my breath turned to mist. In the far corner, a dusty trunk sat crooked on a broken floor beam. Inside it was a stack of brittle journals, all written in the same jagged handwriting. They weren't mine. The first page said, "If you're reading this, it means the house chose you too." I closed the trunk. I left the house, but I couldn't stay away. I don't know why. Something keeps pulling me back, like it's inside me now. Like I'm not just a visitor, because I think I've started walking in my sleep. And every morning when I wake up, I'm one plank closer to that room at the end of the hall.
The morning after I found the teeth, I convinced myself it had to be some kind of sick prank. Maybe the previous owner had a twisted sense of humor. Maybe it wasn't human at all. I needed something to make sense. I tried to focus on logic, on normalcy. I drank coffee, opened the curtains wide, let the morning sun pour in like bleach. But no amount of light could erase the memory of that voice in the dark. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like it was watching me. That same afternoon, I returned to the attic to look deeper into the journals. There were 6 of them in total. The oldest one dated back to 1952. The last entry in that book was chilling. The girl is gone now, swallowed by the boards. but she still whispers when it rains. That night, it rained. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the footsteps came again. But this time, they weren't walking. They were running. Heavy, frantic thuds echoing down the hallway like someone being chased. Or chasing someone. Then, silence. I lay there, heart racing, staring up at the ceiling. And slowly, a faint sound emerged, scratching. Not above. Below. Under my bed. I reached down, trembling, and felt along the edges of the mattress until my fingers brushed something cold. Metal. I pulled it out slowly. A rusty key. It was unlike any modern key, thin, iron-forged, and curved like a spine. I didn't know how it got there, but somehow I knew where it belonged. The door at the end of the hallway. The one without a knob. I should have left it alone. I know that now. But the fear was becoming a disease, and this key felt like the cure. So I stepped out into the dark hallway, key gripped tight, floor creaking beneath me like bones shifting under pressure. As I approached the door, I noticed something I hadn't before, tiny black handprints smeared along the wall beside it. Child-sized. Stained into the wallpaper like old water damage. My hand trembled as I pressed the key forward, and something strange happened. The door shuddered. Not opened. Not unlocked. Shuddered. Like something inside had felt me. Reacted. I took a step back. Then it spoke. A child's voice. Faint. Whimpering. Don't let him out. I dropped the key, and the doorknob appeared. It hadn't been there before. I swear to you, it simply hadn't existed. Now, it was staring at me like a single black eye in the middle of an old wooden face. I turned around and fled back to my room. But the next morning, the hallway had changed. There was no door. No scratches. Just wallpaper. Seamless. Like it had never been there at all. I thought I was losing my mind. I even tried calling a therapist. But every time I picked up my phone, the screen blinked and buzzed, and then, somehow, played the audio recording from the attic journal. I never recorded it. And yet, there it was. A broken voice whispering through static. He remembers you now. You woke him up. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Because the floorboards had stopped creaking. Instead, they were breathing. And from beneath the house, something was knocking. Not with fists. With fingernails. I didn't leave the house the next day. I couldn't. It wasn't fear that stopped me anymore. It was something heavier. Something like gravity, but darker. It kept me tethered to the floor, as if the house had placed invisible hooks beneath my skin. I stared at the hallway all morning, looking for the door that had vanished overnight. Nothing. Just smooth wallpaper. Pale yellow with a faded floral pattern that almost looked like it had faces hidden in it if you stared too long. I even ran my hand across the surface, hoping to feel a seam, a hinge, a single imperfection, but there was nothing. Like it had always been a wall. And then I noticed something chilling. The family portraits I had hung in the hallway, my parents, my younger brother, even my ex-wife, they were gone. Not removed, not stolen, erased. In their place hung unfamiliar paintings, dim landscapes of houses with black windows and twisted trees. One of them, I swear, looked just like this house, except it was burning. I rushed to my bedroom, grabbed the attic journals, and began flipping through the pages. That's when I saw it. the second to last journal, halfway through, the handwriting changed. The first entries had been desperate but rational. Descriptions of the house creaking, voices whispering, the feeling of being watched. But after page 40, the script became unhinged, jagged, crooked letters spiraling off the lines like the author had lost control of his own hand. One entry read, "The house has a heart. It sleeps beneath the hallway. It dreams of names and forgets them when it feeds." Another, "The door only appears to the chosen, to the ones it remembers from before." From before? Before what? Then, something that made my breath catch. I found my photograph in the wallpaper. It's watching me now. If I forget my name, I'll become part of the house. I jumped to my feet, ran back to the hallway, and scanned the floral pattern more closely. And there it was, barely visible, woven into the vines and petals, my face. Not a reflection. Not a trick of the light. A faint image, like an old daguerreotype photo pressed into the paper itself. My mouth was open, eyes wide in silent terror. I stumbled back, tripped, and landed hard on the floor. And when I looked up, the door was back. Same scratched wood. Same iron keyhole. And this time, the knob was turning. Slow. Deliberate. Click. The door creaked open about an inch before slamming shut again. A low thump followed. Then another. Like something inside had thrown itself against the other side in rage. That night, I set up a camera in the hallway, an old DSLR I had used for travel photography. I pointed it directly at the door. I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. At 1:57 a.m., I sat in the dark with my laptop open, live streaming the hallway feed. At exactly 2:13, the same time the footsteps usually began, the screen went black. Not a fade. Not static. Just black. I rushed out of bed, ran to the hallway, and the camera was gone. Only the tripod remained. The mount had been ripped clean off. I searched every inch of the house, even the attic. But then I heard it. Footsteps. Not upstairs. Not down the hall. Inside the walls. They moved fast, scraping, crawling, like someone racing through the narrow gaps between drywall and brick. I pressed my ear to the wall beside the vanished door and held my breath. A voice whispered back, "Don't forget your name. That's how he gets in." I stumbled back, heart pounding. And suddenly, I couldn't remember what day it was, or why I moved into this house. For a split second, my own name felt foreign in my mouth. I locked myself in my room and grabbed a marker from my desk drawer. Across the mirror in my own handwriting, I wrote, "My name is Thomas Ray. I am alive. I am not part of the house." And just below it, I noticed another sentence. In black ink. Same handwriting. But I hadn't written it. We all said that once. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I stared at my own handwriting on the mirror, repeating my name like a mantra. My name is Thomas Ray. I am alive. I am not part of the house. But something felt wrong. Not outside. Inside me. Like my thoughts weren't entirely mine anymore. I tried leaving the house the next morning. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and walked out the front door. Except I didn't. I found myself standing back inside the living room, holding nothing. No bag. No keys. No memory of turning around. The front door stood shut behind me. I ran to open it again. This time, there was no door. Just a brick wall where the exit had been. I screamed, pounded the wall with both fists, but it didn't make a sound. It felt like punching thick, wet fabric instead of brick. like the house had absorbed it. I wasn't just trapped. I had been removed from the outside world entirely. Panicking, I rushed to my phone. No signal. No Wi-Fi. The screen flickered like a dying bulb before blinking off completely. It stayed black for a moment. Then, white words appeared across the screen, one by one. You came looking for silence. Now silence has you. Be still. He listens. I dropped the phone. And that's when the scratching started again. Only this time, it came from inside the bedroom closet. Slow at first, then faster. Claws raking against the wood like a trapped animal. The doorknob began to twitch, then shake, then turn. I backed into the far wall, staring in horror as the door creaked open. Nothing was there. No creature. No shadow. No figure. Only a rope. It dangled from the ceiling inside the closet, frayed, old, covered in what looked like dried blood. I didn't put it there. And on the floor beneath it, a pair of shoes. Children's shoes. And a note, taped to the rope. 4 words written in childlike scrawl. He plays for keeps. I slammed the door shut. But something followed me out. That night, I woke up to a sound no one should ever hear. My own voice, coming from the hallway. I was talking to someone, laughing, whispering, saying things I didn't remember. I grabbed the attic journals and flipped to the final entry, the very last page. This time, it wasn't handwriting. It was a photograph of me, standing in the hallway. Face blank, eyes completely black, mouth open as if mid-scream, but no sound came out. Beneath the photo, in ink that looked like it had been scratched into the paper with a nail, were the words, "You are the story now." I ran to the hallway again. The door at the end was back, fully visible, wide open. A staircase now led down into the dark. Deeper than the house should go. I could hear voices. Dozens. Hundreds. All whispering at once. Some begging. Some laughing. Some just mimicking my own voice in twisted echoes. And from the bottom of the stairs, a light. Flickering. Pale. Cold. And footsteps. Coming up. The stairs should have ended after 15 steps. 20, maybe. But they didn't. They just kept going, narrow, winding, carved from damp stone that shouldn't have existed in a Victorian house in New Hampshire. I kept descending. My flashlight flickered, and every so often, I heard something that sounded like breathing behind me, too far to feel close, but too present to be ignored. Each step whispered under my feet. Not creaked. Whispered. Tiny phrases like, "We remember you, Thomas. You've always been here. Keep walking. He's almost awake." My mind began playing tricks. I thought I saw faces in the wall, crude impressions of mouths stretched open and silent screams, their features half melted into the stone like the house had tried to digest them. Then I heard the music. A piano. Soft, distant, and broken. Like it was being played by cracked fingers, hesitating on every note. The melody was old, like a funeral dirge, but out of tune. Each step I took brought it louder. I finally reached the bottom. It wasn't a basement. It was a room, circular, enormous, carved into the bedrock. No modern builder could have made this. The walls were lined with doors, dozens of them, maybe 100, all mismatched, wooden, iron, even some padded like from an asylum. At the center was a massive mirror. Tall, ornate, with blackened glass. And behind that mirror, I saw him. Not a ghost. ghost. Not a shadow, but a man. He didn't have eyes. Just two black voids that somehow watched me. His smile was wide, broken, stretched too far. And his skin was made of wallpaper. Floral, yellowed, stained. I knew that pattern. It was the same wallpaper from my hallway. He raised his hand and pointed directly at me. The mirror cracked, and suddenly I was surrounded by voices. Screaming, whispering, singing. One door to my left burst open and a woman ran out, her eyes stitched shut, mouth wide open in a frozen scream. She collapsed at my feet and dissolved into smoke. Another door opened, a child crawled out backward, limbs twitching, whispering my name in reverse, Sam. Samuel. Samet. I backed away, heart racing, but the floor had become soft. Sticky. Like flesh. I stumbled and fell against one of the padded doors. It creaked open just enough for me to see myself inside. Not as I am now, but older. Eyes sunken. Lips cracked. Scratching the walls and writing the same sentence over and over again in blood. I belong to the house. I belong to the house. I screamed, and the mirror shattered completely. Black smoke poured out, choking the air. And from within it, he stepped forward. Not running. Not floating. Just walking. Every step made the ground tremble. I turned and ran up the stairs. Only they were gone. There was no staircase anymore. Just the house laughing. Yes, laughing. Low, guttural, ancient. A sound not made with lungs, but with walls. With foundations. I collapsed on the floor, choking, sobbing, yelling for someone, anyone, to help. And then, silence. Total, perfect silence. Until a voice whispered directly into my ear. You forgot your name again, didn't you? I opened my eyes. I was back in my bed. The morning sun streamed through the window. Birds chirped. Everything looked normal. Had it all been a dream? I rushed to the mirror. The writing was gone. I checked my phone. Full signal. 9:03 a.m. Tuesday. Then I looked at the calendar. The year was wrong. It said 1997. I flipped through my phone contacts. They were gone. All of them. Except one. A single name. Thomas Ray, do not answer. My reflection blinked. But I didn't. I froze. The man in the mirror, he smiled. And his mouth moved, even though mine didn't. He whispered, You were always the man beneath the house. The moment I saw the wrong date on my phone, 1997, I should have run. But I didn't. Because something deep inside me whispered, This feels right, doesn't it? And terrifyingly, it did feel familiar. The house looked like it had years ago. Fresher walls, polished wood, furniture I didn't remember buying, and sunlight that felt too warm. Like the house was faking comfort. Like it was trying too hard. I walked into the kitchen and froze. At the table sat a woman. Long dark hair. Soft smile. Holding a cup of tea. She looked up at me and said, Good morning, Thomas, like she'd known me for years. I didn't recognize her, but my mouth whispered before I could stop it. Good morning, Claire. Claire. Where did that name come from? She laughed gently, that way someone does when they love you. Then she stood, walked over, and kissed my cheek. Her touch was warm. Real. Too real. You're quiet this morning, she said. Bad dreams again. I nodded, numb. she poured me a cup of tea. I stared at the steam rising, wondering how I'd gotten here, wondering who she really was. Then a sound. From upstairs. A child laughing. My heart stopped. Claire smiled. Sounds like Eli's already awake. I dropped the teacup. It shattered. She jumped at the sound. Thomas. But I didn't hear her. Because I was running upstairs, every step shaking beneath me. Eli. I don't have a son. Do I? The upstairs hallway was shorter now. Narrower. Light poured from the farthest room. A child's voice echoed. Daddy, I drew you something. I pushed open the door. And there he was. A boy. 6, maybe 7. Sitting on the floor, crayons in hand. He looked up and beamed. Daddy, come look. He held up a drawing. It was our house. On fire. And in every window, a face. Mouth screaming. Eyes hollow. I drew all the people inside, he said cheerfully. I knelt slowly. Eli, who are they? He smiled wide. They live here now. You let them in. Before I could respond, Claire appeared at the door. Her face pale. Terrified. You opened the door again, didn't you? She whispered. What door? Her voice cracked. The room at the end of the hall. I looked behind her. There it was. Back again. Scratched. Breathing. She grabbed my hand. You promised you'd never go near it again. You promised after. She stopped. Her eyes filled with tears. I turned to Eli. He was gone. Just gone. The room was empty. As if he had never existed. The crayon drawing lay on the floor, burning slowly from the edges. I screamed, and the house shifted. The walls trembled. The floors warped. Pictures twisted in their frames. Then the hallway stretched, growing longer, darker, colder. I ran. Toward the end. Toward the door. I had to see. Had to know. I reached it. Put my hand on the knob. It turned like it had been waiting for me. Inside was darkness. Not absence of light, but the presence of something worse. And in the center of the room, a chair. A noose hanging above it. On the wall behind it, hundreds of names were scratched into the wood. Mine was already there. And below it, Claire's and Eli's. A whisper rose from the shadows. You let them in. You let him out. And now they belong to the story too. The walls began to bleed, though it groaned like it was alive. I fell to my knees and remembered everything. Candle flashback within the flashback. 27 years ago, I bought this house with Claire. Newlyweds. It was supposed to be our forever home. We were expecting our first child. But then I started hearing the footsteps. The whispers. I found the door. I opened it. And whatever was inside, it wanted a price. The house doesn't take your body. It takes your timeline. Your memories. Your legacy. Claire tried to leave. Eli was only 3. They got as far as the yard before the house changed the road, twisting time, pulling them back. That night, during the storm, the house whispered to me, "One of you must stay." And I chose myself. I thought I was saving them. But the house lied. It always lies. I woke the next day, alone. And the house told me they had never existed. But now, standing in this bleeding room, I remembered it all. And I knew what had to be done. The moment I remembered everything, the house changed. Not gradually. Violently. The walls pulsed like veins. Floorboards curled up like fingers. The air thickened, hot, metallic, suffocating. The hallway outside the door twisted as if the house was trying to swallow itself. I stumbled out of the forgotten home, clutching the last crayon drawing Eli had made, the one where every window showed screaming faces. It wasn't a child's imagination. It was a map. Each window represented a soul. Trapped. Watching. I needed to find them. Needed to find him. I followed the hallway, which had stretched far beyond its physical limits. Doors appeared on either side, some with glowing cracks underneath, others shaking violently, as if something inside was desperate to get out. I passed a door labeled 1974. Then another, Claire, age 6. Another, Mom's kitchen, before the fire. Each one a memory. Not just mine. Everyone's. I was walking through the mind of the house. And then, one door opened. Not because I touched it. Because it wanted me. Inside was a replica of my childhood bedroom. The posters on the walls. The bookshelf I broke when I was 9. The small window where I used to stare at the stars and make wishes. Sitting on the bed was me. But younger. Maybe 12. Tears in his eyes. Whispering to no one. Don't forget who we are, he said. That's how it starts. I asked him, what do I do now? He looked up, and I saw that one of his eyes was missing. Just an empty hole, black and weeping. He pointed behind me. I turned, and saw the mirror room again. But this time, the mirrors were filled. Each one showing a different version of me. One screaming. One hanging. One digging his own grave. One laughing hysterically with blood on his hands. And one just watching. The watching one stepped out of the mirror. I backed away. He looked exactly like me. Same clothes, same scars. But colder. Detached. You're too late, he said. You remembered too much. Now you have to stay. I'm not staying, I whispered. Oh, but you already have. He smiled. And suddenly, I was back in the center of the house. The staircase that led to nowhere was in front of me again. And at the bottom of it, standing alone in the dark, was Eli. Barefoot. Covered in ash. Crying. I ran. Faster than I ever had. But no matter how close I got, he never seemed nearer. The house was stretching time. Turning seconds into hours. Finally, I dropped to my knees. I remember now. I shouted. I opened the door. I let him in. But I never meant to. Eli looked up. His eyes, not black. Not empty. Just sad. I forgive you, he said. Then, behind him, he appeared. The man with wallpaper skin. But now, he had my face. Half burned. Twisted. Mouth full of smoke. And in that moment, I realized he wasn't just a spirit. He was the echo of every man who had made the wrong choice inside this house. He was what I would become if I stayed. I stood tall. I'm ending this, I said. He opened his mouth to speak, but I didn't listen. I took Eli's drawing, the house in flames, and tore it in half. The scream that followed shattered the walls. The floor split open. The mirrors upstairs exploded. The doors began to burn, and the house began to collapse. Brick by brick. Memory by memory. I grabbed Eli's hand. I pulled him forward. We ran. Up up the invisible staircase, through the hallway, past the claw marks, through the front door, which was finally back. It opened, and sunlight poured in like holy fire. Candle epilogue begins. I woke up in a hospital. They said I was found unconscious in an abandoned home scheduled for demolition. There was no record of a family. No Claire. No Eli. No journals. Just me. And a child's drawing in my hand. A happy family. 3 stick figures. Smiling in front of a house. The doctor said I kept whispering the same phrase while I was unconscious. He only lives if we forget. It's been weeks. I still dream of the house. Of rooms that don't exist. Of voices in the walls. And sometimes, just as I wake, I hear Eli's voice gently reminding me, "Don't forget again, Daddy." And I don't. I never will. Because forgetting is how the house begins. 3 weeks have passed. That's what they told me, anyway. The hospital walls are white, sterile, silent. I've been moved to the psychiatric wing for observation. They said my brain suffered from oxygen deprivation. That I hallucinated. But I remember everything. Too clearly. Each night, I lie awake listening to the silence, not just the absence of sound, but that familiar silence. The kind that breathes. Sometimes, I wait to find dirt under my fingernails. Other times, I hear creaking floorboards even though the hospital is made of tile. I tried to tell the doctors. About the house. About Eli. About Claire. But every time I say her name, the lights flicker. Every time I whisper Eli's name, doors slam down the hall. I've stopped talking. And now, I write. Journals. Dozens of them. Just like the ones I found in the attic. Each entry begins the same. My name is Thomas Ray. I am alive. I am not part of the house. But last night, something changed. As I flipped through the latest journal, I found pages I didn't write. Handwriting that isn't mine. Words that I've never thought. And in the center of one page, a photo of me, sitting in this room, reading this exact journal. But behind me, in the mirror on the wall, wallpaper, yellowed, floral, breathing. I turned to look at the mirror. Nothing there. Just my reflection. Then I blinked, and behind me stood Claire, holding Eli's hand. Their eyes were empty, their skin peeled, and they whispered in unison, "You were supposed to stay." I screamed. Staff rushed in, sedated me, hooked me to monitors. Now I sit here, writing faster, before they take the pen away again. Because tonight, I saw it, on the nurse's clipboard, room assignments, and next to mine, Crestwood patient number 3, scheduled for reintegration. Crestwood. That was the name of the street. The house on Crestwood Lane. The one that doesn't show up on maps. That doesn't stay in one place. That moves. Patient number 3. So there were others. Or is it counting me again? I tried to stay awake last night. Tried to resist. But at 2:13 a.m., I woke up standing in the hallway. The hospital hallway. But it wasn't tile anymore. It was hardwood. Scratched. Blood-stained. And at the far end, waiting patiently, the door. Same knob. Same keyhole. Same whispers. This time, it was already open. And I swear to you, on the floor inside, it was there. The drawing. Eli's final drawing. Still burning, but never gone. I closed my eyes, and I heard it again. The house doesn't end when it dies. It ends when you do. Candle final words of episode 8. So now I ask myself, did I ever escape? Or did the house just build a better illusion? A cleaner trap? A longer hallway? Because every time I breathe, I hear the floor creak. Every time I close my eyes, I hear Eli laugh. And every time I say my name, the house forgets me a little more. I was discharged from the hospital last Thursday. They said I was stable. They were wrong. I returned to the city, rented a small apartment, started therapy, took up photography again. For a while, I believed I was free. The nightmares stopped. The whispers faded. But the mirrors, they never stopped watching. Every reflection shows me slightly different. Sometimes my shirt is a different color. Sometimes the background changes. Once, just once, my reflection smiled while I stood stone-faced. And last night, it happened. I woke up with dirt under my nails, and the smell of old wallpaper in my lungs. My apartment hallway had grown longer, and at the far end, the door, same knob, same deep scratches, same silence that hums like electricity under skin. I slammed my bedroom door, blocked it with furniture, tried to stay awake. At 2:13 a.m., I blinked, just blinked, and I was standing in front of the door again, my hand on the knob, like it never left me. And then a voice, not Eli, not Claire, but my own. Let it end, one way or another. I opened the door. Inside was no room, just space, endless, shifting, like walking inside someone's memory. Floating in that void were rooms, disconnected, spinning slowly in blackness. Claire's kitchen, Eli's nursery, my childhood basement, and in the middle, a new room, one I didn't recognize. I stepped inside and found dozens of people sitting in silence, all of them writing in journals, all of them muttering, "My name is Thomas Ray. I am alive. I am not part of the house." And then I saw myself, sitting among them, older, worn, one eye missing. He looked up. "You shouldn't have come back," he said. "I didn't," I replied. He shook his head. "We never left." The room trembled. Reality cracked like glass. And I understood. The house isn't a place. It's a pattern. It's memory that grows mold. It's trauma that breathes. It's guilt with walls. The more you fight it, the deeper it digs. The more you forget, the closer it sits. And worst of all, it's contagious. Because when I looked closer at the people in that room, they weren't all strangers. One looked like my father, another like my childhood neighbor, and one looked exactly like you. Whoever's listening to this, reading this, watching this, you're next. Because now that you know the house knows you. Candle final words, a whisper from the dark. If you hear floorboards creak when no one's there, if a hallway in your home feels too long at night, if a door appears where one never existed before, don't open it, because he's still there, waiting. And the house never leaves.